Hey everyone, if your company works with the US Department of Defense, or even just wants to, there's a new acronym you absolutely have to get familiar with: CMMC. That's the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. And trust me, it's a total game changer for anyone in the defense space. So let's jump right in and figure out what this is all about, and, more importantly, what it means for you.
All right, so first things first, why does CMMC even exist? This wasn't just some random regulation dreamed up in a stuffy government office. No, this was a direct answer to a huge, and I mean huge, global problem. A problem that's not just expensive, but one that puts our entire national security on the line.
And to really get a sense of the scale here, let's just talk numbers for a second. Back in 2017, the Center for Strategic and International Studies pegged the global cost of cybercrime at, wait for it, $600 billion, with a B. And look, that was years ago. That number has only shot up since, which just goes to show you how much money our adversaries can make by stealing sensitive data. But, it's not just about the money, not by a long shot. The Department of Defense has been super clear about this. This quote right here, it's from their own documents, and it really lays out the stakes. It says, the aggregate loss of intellectual property undercuts U.S. technical advantages and innovation, as well as significantly increases risk to national security. So think about what that means. Every time sensitive, even unclassified info gets stolen, our country's technological edge gets a little bit weaker. So who are these attackers going after? Well, it's this group right here, the Defense Industrial Base, or DIB for short. And this isn't some small club. We're talking about a massive network of over 300,000 companies. So if your business is in that supply chain, it doesn't matter if you're a giant corporation or a small mom-and-pop shop, you are a target. And that, right there, is exactly why the DoD put CMMC into place. Okay, so we've covered the why. We know the threat is real. Now let's get into the what. What exactly is CMMC? Well, think of it as the DoD's strategic playbook to fight back against this threat. It's a whole framework built to shield the entire defense industrial base from these cyber attacks. At its heart, CMMC is all about verification. It's just a way for the government to look at your company and say, yep, they've got the right security in place to protect our info. A good way to think about it is like building codes for your company's digital house. You wouldn't build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation, right? Well, before you can work on a sensitive government project, you have to prove your digital foundation is rock solid. Now, CMMC is really focused on protecting two main kinds of data. On one hand, you've got federal contract information, or FCI. This is basically any info related to a government contract that isn't meant for the public. Then you've got the more serious stuff: Controlled Unclassified Information, or CUI. As the name suggests, it's unclassified, but it's still super sensitive and needs extra protection. And this is key. Which type of data you handle is what's going to decide which CMMC level you need to worry about. And that's a perfect lead-in to the structure of CMMC itself. The DoD knows that one size doesn't fit all, so they broke it down into 3 different levels. And here's the really important part to remember. These levels build on each other. They're cumulative. You can't just jump to level 3. You have to master level 1 and level 2 first. They're like building blocks. All right, let's walk through them. Level 1, that's your foundation. It's all about basic cyber hygiene, the essentials you need to protect that federal contract information, or FCI. Simple enough. Level 2, this is where things step up a notch. This is for protecting the more sensitive CUI. And to do that, you have to implement a list of 110 security controls from a big federal standard called NIST 800-171. Then you get to level 3. This is the expert level, right? This is for protecting against the most sophisticated attacks, what they call Advanced Persistent Threats, or APTs, and it requires even more security controls on top of everything else. Okay, so now you know what CMMC is, and you get the different levels. The next big question is pretty obvious, right? How do you actually prove you're compliant? Well, that's where the assessment comes in. It's basically the final exam for your company's cyber defenses. And yeah, this is the question that's probably on your mind right now. Do I have to hire some expensive outside company to come in and audit me? Is this going to take forever? Or can I just handle this myself? Well, the good news is the answer depends entirely on what CMMC level you're shooting for. So let's look at how this breaks down. For level 1, it's pretty straightforward. You just do a self-assessment once a year. Easy. Now, for level 2, it gets a little more complicated. It really depends on the specific contract. Some will be fine with that annual self-assessment, but if you're handling more critical info, you'll need a formal third-party audit every 3 years. And then for level 3, there's no ambiguity. Every single company needs that formal third-party assessment every 3 years. Period.
Okay, now listen up because this next point is absolutely crucial and you cannot afford to miss it. If you're a subcontractor, CMMC applies to you. It's not just for the big prime contractors. The rules flow down to anyone in the supply chain who touches FCI or CUI. The prime contractors are going to be on the hook to make sure you're compliant, so you really can't just bury your head in the sand and hope it goes away. It's your problem too.
All right, we've talked about the problem, we've talked about the solution that is CMMC, and we've talked about the assessment process. So now, let's get to the most important part of all. What can you actually do about it? Starting right now, today. Let's map out your CMMC game plan. And the DoD has been really straightforward with their advice here. They say the number one single best thing you can do to prepare is to do a really honest self-assessment. Look at the CMMC requirements for your level and compare them to what you're doing right now. That's going to show you exactly where your gaps are. And once you know where you're falling short, you can make a plan to fix those issues before any official assessment. It's all about preparation. Now, the good news is you do have some time, but the clock is definitely ticking. The DoD is planning to start rolling CMMC requirements into contracts on November 10th, 2025. They're phasing it in over 3 years, so you don't have to do everything overnight, but that first year is going to focus heavily on level 1 and those level 2 self-assessments. So really, the time to get your house in order is now. So let's bring it all home. When you boil it all down, it comes to this one question. CMMC, it's not just another compliance checklist you have to tick off. It's about our collective national security. The entire defense industrial base is a single chain, and every company, your company, is one of its links. With everything that's at stake, the only question you have to ask yourself is your link going to be a strong one, or is it going to be the one that breaks?